A lot of people, I don't think really understand what we're telling God when we say, "Here I am." It is a very big deal. That is basically saying, "I'm ready. Here we go. Use me." It's very serious. We're going to be in, we'll turn your Bible to Genesis 22, verse 1. Now, in Genesis 22, verse 1, Abraham had been traveling along with the guidance of the Lord. God came to him when he was a younger guy and said, "Follow me." And Abram said, "Okay." And that's what he did. He followed God. God didn't tell him where they were going, didn't have any need to. He just looked at somebody that was faithful. And he said, "Follow me." And Abram did. He followed him. And he went, and he went, and he went. And he eventually got to where he was going. I think God wants to take all of us to the promised land if we're willing to follow him with faith. Sometimes we are called to do something and I don't know, we kind of mess it up because we try to put conditions on it, or like Eddie's song said, we're human. And humans don't tend to do things the right way all the time. Let me tell you about Abraham. Abraham was not some magical guy. He wasn't some supernatural man. He was a man. A regular man. Just like us. Just a normal guy. He came from a place in Babylon, or Ur as it's called, and his dad, Terah, was a guy that worshiped false gods. So his daddy wasn't a godly man. His daddy was somebody that was all mixed up in bad stuff. He came from a bad home. He didn't have a lot. He wasn't a rich guy. He wasn't very educated. He was just a normal guy that when God spoke to him, he responded. In Genesis chapter 22, verse 1, God is calling him to do something extraordinary. And it was for his benefit and for ours by reading this story. God told him to go kill his kid. He said, "I want you to take Isaac up on the mountaintop and I want you to sacrifice him. That's what I want." He didn't question. He just went to do it. I think sometimes God wants to do things in our life that we don't like, but it's what's best, or it's a time for it. Satan wants to go up to God, and he does all the time, and what Satan wants to do is try to break you down, or break your spirit, or just break your will. God sees your faith. He knows what kind of faith you have. He knows the strength inside of you. And God says, "How about this one?" How many of y'all, be honest about this, if God came up to you and said, "All right, I need a volunteer. I want you to go through a tragedy. I want you to go through something that you don't think you can make it through, but it's for my glory." Volunteers? We'd be thinking about that for a minute. We'd be wondering about that. What if your heart wound up broken? It's like, there's no way I can come back from this. What if your body got broke down to the point where you were crippled or even dead? What if you got to the point where you were losing your mind? Big picture-wise, all our bodies are going to be broken down to the point of death. All of us are going to have our hearts broken. And we're all going to lose our mind from time to time. Every single one of us. Wouldn't it be better if we started realizing, hey, God can get glory out of this? Maybe I need to volunteer for this more. So what if you were like Abraham? And you said, here I am, Lord. Here I am. It's going to be some tremendous things you've got to go through in your life. You can go through even harder things to bring God more glory. I will tell you this, He deserves it. It's absolutely worth it. Paul said, I don't think we would even consider the sufferings we go through here on earth once we get to heaven. I don't think we'll even remember the stuff we went through here on earth. So why do we go through it? It's so that other people can see that God is real in our life. See, how you respond to things absolutely tells people whether you are a follower of God or not. Are you responded with grace? Are you responding with the favor of the Father? Does it seem to make sense to folks? Maybe it shouldn't. It should be all right. Maybe you having the worst day ever, and then you wind up smiling. You know what? This too is going to pass. It always passes. Or you die. Either way, I'm going to be with Jesus. So I'm not going to stress about this so much. Life is just a vapor. It's fleeting. It's passing away. Anyway, Abraham, Mr. Abram, he had gone through some very hard times growing up. And it did not matter what his parents believed or didn't believe. It didn't matter how much stuff he had. It didn't matter where he came from. It didn't matter about the past. God wanted him. God called him, and Abraham volunteered. There are some obstacles to this that keep you from saying, here I am. You want to hear about it? Here it is. Well, we need 3 points. I'll give you 6. There are 3 points. Things that keep us from saying, here I am. Number 1 is our world, the culture. All right? The world tells you that God is not real. It starts distracting you, placing doubt in your mind. Our culture seems to make out like there's no way that church is relevant anymore. There's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of temptation. 3 of the most common distractions in the world are desire, selfishness, and comparison. See, when we look at the desires of the world, that's where we get things like pride. We need to be validated, power, money, lust, all these different things, these desires that are not holy. Our world says it's mine. But you know deep down that it ain't. And then there's this selfishness that puts you first. But when you're putting yourself first, you're not going to volunteer for God's call. And then there's comparison. When you start comparing yourself to other people, that robs you of your joy. And it gets you out of focus. So the world and our culture is one thing that keeps us from volunteering for God, and another thing is other people. Other people around you, they speak and they influence you, and they change your mind, or maybe they hurt your mind. How many of y'all have a parent that was absolutely supportive for your whole life? Yeah, probably nobody. See, even our own parents sometimes dissuade us from being all that God wants us to be. They want to protect us. They don't want to see us hurt or suffer or anything like that. So even our own parents would go against God in trying to protect us. Sometimes they're just straight up bad influences. Sometimes they don't set the right example. I'm a pastor of a church, and I have set a bad example for my kids. You let me see somebody acting a fool, I'm going to judge. Straight up. Look at that moron. Later on, I'm like, and it's usually when I hear the kids come out, look at them morons. I'm like, wonder where they got that from. So then I'll try to fix it. Alicia, you need to stop calling people morons from the kids. They're picking up on that. Some of y'all might be saying worse than moron. You know what I'm saying? It happens. And children are God's gift to bring in conviction, especially for the things that you say that you shouldn't, because they will absolutely repeat it. And let me give you a bit of advice, parents. If you're whispering it, that makes children's ears work harder. Okay? When a parent is whispering, kids pay more attention, because they're like, they don't want me to hear this. Now I really, really want to hear it. They'll sneak around and they're like, what are you saying? And then they hear it and they're like, difference is they don't whisper when they tell somebody else. Or they come to church and they tell their Sunday school teacher, because you're not in the room. Yeah, buddy. Well, I ain't bringing them to Sunday school. Well, they also go to public school. They got phones. They're talking. People are a deterrent sometimes to being who God wants you to be, volunteering for God. How many of y'all ever had a friend that gave you some bad advice? You'd think people would stop listening to their friends, especially when it goes to love. I know many guys who wound up single because their girlfriend listened to their other girlfriend. Let me be blunt about this. Sometimes misery loves company. And you got this decent chick dating this decent dude, and they had a fight. All right? This decent chick goes and talks to all these other chicks. Some of them might be just ratchet ugly. And they ain't got no chance being with a decent dude. So what they want to do is tell this decent chick, hey, you don't need him. He ain't no good, this, that, and the other. You just ain't going to be able to get nobody with your attitude, and you looking all funky. So, you don't want anybody to have anybody, so you tell them, oh, you need to just hang out with us. You need to do it up. You don't need no man. You just stay away from him, this, that, and the other. That stuff started many years ago. Now the women are turning into lesbians. We don't need no man. Now it's just running rampant. I'll just be the man. And all the guys are getting confused. They're like, well, there ain't no chicks anywhere. I'll be the chick. So that's what they're doing. They dress them up. Come about, I thought drag racing was good, so I'm just going to go and do a drag race. They don't even realize that it ain't got nothing to do with cars, and it's all showing up. Everybody's all confused. All because your one ugly friend gave you some bad advice years ago. The whole world changed. Does this sound like it's plausible? Y'all know what the next step is, right? Lesbians and gay guys are going to start getting married again. Except the girl's going to be the boy and the boy's going to be the girl. That's where we're headed. It's all backwards. God's like, I'm waiting on this full circle to come. It's getting there. Bless their hearts. They're trying to figure it out. You got the world, the culture, and other people. And you also have the enemy, which is Satan. keeps you from volunteering for God. The enemy is the one that lies in your ear and tells you, hey, your friend's right. They also tell you you're not good enough. They also tell you that because of your past, you have no future. They also tell you that you ain't got no intellect. You can't possibly do that. Ain't nobody going to believe you changed. Nobody's ever going to trust you again. Nobody likes you. Why do you go to the church when nobody at church likes you? Nobody at the other church likes you. You might as well just stay at home. All of these lies just got you at a point where it's like, I just want to stay to myself and not interact with anybody. I know that God can be with you exactly where you are. But God tells us to be gathered together to worship. Listening to the enemy is going to make you useless to God. Because when you're listening to the enemy, you will not listen to God. You can't listen to both of them. I've had both of my kids talking to me at the same time. I couldn't listen to either one of them. So I wound up listening to none of them. Gave him the dad nod. Yep. I'll be watching the TV show. There'll be something I'm listening at. My wife will start talking to me. And I know in my heart, she trumps the TV. But I was watching this first. Wound up. I'm distracted from that. I didn't hear nothing she said. I ain't hearing anything. So I will pause the TV. Go ahead. And then she's like, I'm sorry I interrupted. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry I interrupted. Just tell me what you were trying to tell me. Now you're aggravated. I'm not aggravated, but I'm getting there. Just tell me. You can't listen to one voice at a time. You can't hear God when you're listening to the enemy. You can't. Don't interrupt when I'm watching preaching. Well, yes. Anyway, y'all know you got, anybody got voices in the head? My mother-in-law has a lot, apparently. Was that reaction because you do, or you're afraid of mine? Don't answer that. Now, in our own minds, these are the other 3 points. In our own minds, the things that keep us from doing what we're supposed to do. God told Abraham to go and sacrifice his son. Go kill your son. Sacrifice your son. He volunteered. Absolutely. He had faith that God was either going to provide a way to change the plan, or he was going to have to go through with it to show how much faith he had. God was going to resurrect him. He didn't know, but he trusted it was going to work out. I tell y'all this. If we would tell God, here I am, use me. Here I am, send me. Here I am, I'm ready for you to do whatever with me. God would bless it in a real way. One of the first things that messes that up is the voice in our head that gives us fear. Fear is one of the biggest cripplers to folk. Amen? Whatever your struggle, most of the time it starts with fear. Sometimes we have a deep-seated fear. It's like, it's so ingrained into our flesh. That's just who we are. We become cowards. We start thinking that we are incapable of doing things because we think that's who we are. I can't possibly speak in front of people. I can't possibly sing a song in front of people. I can't go and ask people if they know Jesus. I can't do that. My skin would just melt. I would fall apart. I would burst into flames. I can't do that. Too scared. There's fear of failure. There's fear of leaving your comfort zone. There's fear that it might actually work out and you'll have to keep doing it. A lot of fear. I'm not going to know what to say. I don't know if they're going to respond right. I don't know if they're going to be able to accept it. I don't know. That leads us to another one that's a lot like fear. It's called doubt. You know, doubt's the opposite of faith. When you get to doubting what God can do through you, you're basically telling God, I don't have any faith that you can do it through me. Abraham did not have doubt when God told him to sacrifice his son. He believed that God was going to provide a way. I'll tell you this. When it's all said and done, listen, if you don't hear nothing else, listen to this. We only here for 80, 90 years. That's not really that long. After that time, if you've got Christ in your heart, you will go to heaven and be with Jesus. Everything that happens on this earth during your life, it's not that bad. It's just a little one. And y'all, I'm going to tell you something. I lose sight of that. I lose focus of that sometimes. And that is Satan winning when I lose sight of that. Big picture-wise, God may be letting me go through something so that somebody else can live for an eternity instead of go to hell. Why does God trust us like that? Why does God pick us to do things like that? Why don't we volunteer to do things like that? We got it twisted up, y'all, along the way, where fears and doubts, they have taken over, and we think that we're not part of God's plan. God made you to be part of His plan. You were created for a purpose, God's purpose, not just to live on the earth, but to be part of His kingdom. And see, God knew before He ever made anything, He was going to give people free will, free choice, and He knew before He made you whether you were going to pick Him or not. He knew. But why did God make you if He knew you were going to hell? He gave you a choice. He gave you a choice. Even the people that were created and God knew they were going to hell, they had a choice. My God can still use those people to influence others. My God can even use Satan to influence others. He can use anything. Since He created anything, Satan was a beautiful angel, the most beautiful angel. He gave Satan a choice. Free will. Satan went against him, and the only thing Satan has ever created is sin. The only thing you can create is a mess. You can make a mess of your life. You can make a mess of your faith with fears, doubts. Any of y'all got insecurity? We all insecure about stuff. We're insecure about our place in God's kingdom, or if we're doing things right. We're insecure about our knowledge. And those are some spiritual things. I mean, it starts when we're young. We get insecure about how we look or how we dress. We get insecure about what other people think about us and all these different things. And none of it matters. The only thing that matters is that through the blood of Jesus Christ, your sins are forgiven, and you should be secure in the hands of God Almighty, where neither height nor depth, nor angel nor demon, so on and so forth, nothing can take you out of his hand. That's security. Why are you insecure? Because of fear and doubt and other people and enemies getting in your head. There's a lot of different things that we can talk about in particular to keeps us from being what we should be. I think this is the main one. This is the last point. In Joshua 24:2, it tells us that Abraham's daddy Terah, served other gods. The Bible teaches us that you cannot serve two masters. It's either God or Satan. If you are serving other gods, you will not serve God. That may be the very reason why you have all these fears and doubts and insecurities, and you are listening to other people in the enemy more than God, because you're serving another God. That God may be you, that God may be culture, maybe the world. But when you get to serving this thing, you will not serve God. You will not tell God, I'm here. Use me. Send me. So I guess it all kind of boils down to this. When God calls you, what's your answer going to be? Now, I tell you this. When God calls you, that normally will, first response is going to incite fear and doubt. Now, he may not be calling you to go to Africa, live in a little hut, and be a missionary. He may not be calling you to pastor a church. He may not be calling you to be a singer or anything like that. God calls every single person that's ever been born to be his child. He calls you to salvation. He calls you to faith. Some people say yes. Some people ignore it. Some people teeter on it for a long, long time. I want to tell you something, though. That's just the first time he calls you. Once you get saved, he's going to continue to call you to action. That's what he did with Abraham. He didn't just call Abraham and say, hey, come follow me, and I will make you the father of nations. I will make your people as numerous as the stars in the sky. I will bless you beyond measure. Just follow me. And then Abraham went, okay. And that was the end of the story? No. Abraham lived for years, and finally, when he was 100 years old, he finally had a child. The promised child. And God's not done with him yet. God's telling him, I want you to sacrifice your son. Show me how much you love me. Put me first. I'm willing. Here I am. Suppose your neighbor, a family member, or something like that was headed to hell, and the only way that they would just wake up and have their heart softened was if your kid died. Would you? Would you say, here I am? I'll do it? See, that's the anguish over a lost soul that Jesus felt when he went to the cross. Fear, doubt, anxiety, all these things are like, God wouldn't ask me. God wouldn't ask me to do that. He asked Abraham to do it. Abraham was a regular dude, just like all of us. I believe that these stories are in our Bible to teach us how to live. And if God blessed somebody, he would bless somebody else. It's an example. If God asks somebody to make a sacrifice like that, I believe we should have the same amount of faith Abraham did in thinking that, hey, this is going to work out. Abraham didn't know how, but he believed that his son was going to keep on living. He believed that that would not be the end of Isaac. He knew it. And anybody who's ever had a child pass away before, you went through some horrible times, but hearts were touched and softened because of the death of that child. You know what I'm talking about. Alicia had a brother who passed away in a car accident when he was 16 years old. Tragic. So many people at the funeral. So many people prayed. So many lives touched. He is not dead, though. And we lose sight of that because of the world and our culture and the way everybody's thinking. He's alive. He's just waiting on y'all. I only met Bob maybe a couple of times at school. I didn't know him. He was a little older than I was. I didn't know everybody from Rockford back then. And I've been hearing stories about it and pictures about it. We would have been some pretty good buddies. So I just got to wait a little while to hang out. I can't imagine the stories that he's going to have to tell me because he done beat me to it. He done been there a minute. So he done met all these folks I want to talk to. So if I just go hang out with Bob for a few minutes, I can tell him some stuff about his sister he may not know. Or his mama. But he'll probably tell me, like, I seen it all, I know. You're like, man, you know, at the Great White Throne, that's when our memories are going to be washed away a little bit. And there ain't going to be no more tears. I can't wait for that day. Because I done seen everything they did. Go look it up, that's true. Now you'd be like, oh, well, hang on a minute now. I thought it was just God watching. You didn't tell me my grandma was. Well, you are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. Where do you think they came from? See, we put so much stock into this life, we forget about the one that's going to last forever. God is wanting to orchestrate a masterpiece in your life. I think it would serve us better to have the faith like Abraham and just volunteer and say, God, here I am, send me. Have faith that it's going to work out. You know that God ain't going to lead you to destruction. You know that God ain't going to send you to damnation. God ain't trying to just wreck your life. He's trying to work it out. If you've never placed your faith in Him for salvation, and you know that you are lost, you've been thinking about it. He's been calling you. Respond to Him today.